YouTube has become the latest social media company to sell out to the Trump administration, abandoning a clear-cut lawsuit with a huge payday. But is that just the start of major media outlets getting compromised by the administration's allies in ways that would make even Vladimir Putin blush? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay. YouTube has agreed to pay a $24 million to settle a lawsuit with the Trump administration and actually with President Trump personally. His account, of course, was suspended following his incitement and leadership of the January 6th attacks. This was, of course, an effort led by the president to overturn the free and fair election results of 2020, something that the president has maintained were fraudulent. But, of course, despite being in total control of the DOJ, Trump has charged 0 people and produced 0 evidence that the 2020 election was anything other than free and fair. And his efforts to overturn it, in part with this attack on the U.S. Capitol, and that resulted in several U.S. Capitol police officers with grievous injuries. Despite all this, President Trump maintains that he is the real victim here, guys. Now, he filed a lawsuit in 2020 saying that he was a victim of censorship when the site suspended his account following the attack. And I want to be clear that YouTube has simply said, we're going to do an out-of-court settlement. They've promised to pay $22 million of the settlement towards the construction of the Trump Ballroom, right, which is going to a nonprofit called the Trust for the National Mall. And then the remainder is going to go to other Trump allies who are also suspended over things like saying that vaccines are making unfounded claims about vaccines or unfounded claims about the election. So, a law professor at Santa Clara University said, this is just influence peddling. This is YouTube settlement. It's not a sign of any legal merit, right? Now, we've talked about this because in literally dozens of lawsuits, and trust me, well, I'm a full-time YouTuber. I know how this works. YouTube, as a private company, it's owned by shareholders, not owned by the government, can censor anyone they want, just like on my channel, right? You can go into the comments, and because I control the channel, I can delete whatever you say if I want to. I don't because it's comments, but that's a right that I have, right? That part of my free speech rights is the right to control what other people can and can't say in my realm. Similarly, YouTube maintains the same right. And this is not me speculating. This is dozens of court cases of all sorts, right? From a newspaper who says, listen, the newspaper isn't obligated to publish every letter to the editor. The same principle applies. You're not obligated to host any account you don't want to, right? YouTube could have a single channel that consists solely of Sergey Brin repeating the words YouTube good over and over again. That's their prerogative. So this whole thing, this lawsuit was BS from the start. And essentially, it seems totally transparent that this is simply a way to maintain a legal bribe, right? Because in the United States, remember, anyone can sue anyone for anything. And at the very least, you're going to force that person to get a lawyer and fight you in court. We saw this, for example, prominent YouTuber Spencer Cornelia called out someone who was running, or actually was sued by a business guru on the internet for simply inviting on his show one of the business guru's critics. They was sued for something comical like defamation or libel or something. Absolutely meritless lawsuit. It still cost him $200,000 or $300,000 to defend. And the guy who filed the lawsuit, Derek Bunnyberg, obviously was like, hey, you can settle this lawsuit by just making a video saying that you were wrong, that I'm legit, right? Which is, of course, absolutely has no legal basis, right? He was well within his rights as for free speech, freedom of the press, but he still needed to expend, it cost him $300,000 to fight it, whereas he could have simply resolved it in 15 minutes by taking down a video or making an apology video. So this whole thing, this is just a legal channel to bribe or threaten in the United States. And that's what it seems like the Trump administration was doing from the start. They simply wanted to play this lawsuit out for as long as possible, on the hopes that this is exactly what would happen. And the funny thing is, $25 million seems to be exactly the going rate because Meta paid the president exactly $25 million over Facebook and Instagram's decision to suspend him. Elon Musk, who paid out earlier and reinstated the president's account, paid $10 million over similar allegations. This is insane because, of course, as you know, X essentially became a right-wing Republican platform in the lead up to the election, right? Freedom of speech experts said the true of suits brought by Trump did not raise any credible legal claims. First Amendment protections typically apply to government officials, not private companies censoring speech. But the tech industry lining up one by one to make public displays of their 8-digit deals to conclude the litigation. Now, here's the problem, is that what often happens in these deals, the thing that worries you and me, is that there is the written part of the deal, but then there's also some handshake agreements. And this is where things get kind of troubling, right? YouTube publicly has said, hey, we're reinstating accounts that were banned for spreading misinformation about COVID-19 and election-related falsehoods, which makes sense because, again, in the United States, now people who believe COVID-19 was fake and that vaccines cause more harm than the disease itself, and that the election never happened and was illegitimate, those people now control the country. So, again, it's, truth doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you agree with the government, not whether or not anything is true. Now, what's fascinating is that the problem is, well, we're going to talk about the problem because we're seeing it already happen with the CBS Paramount lawsuit. And we'll talk about that, but I'm going to play out for you guys exactly why I have such an issue with this. Okay. So the problem, well, let's talk. Well, before we talk about it, I want to mention, guys, Strike Gum. You guys know, as a dad of 2 young kids, a triathlete, and a full-time content creator, I need all the energy I can get. Okay. I slept literally like 4 hours last night. My kid was up every 2 hours. So I need caffeine. And that's why I choose Strike Gum. That's why I made Strike Gum, because I'm tired of energy drinks, right? These things are loaded with sugar, 54 grams of sugar in this thing. Okay. And it's $5. And you got to haul it around, right? It tastes like butt. Strike Gum has 0 sugar, 90 milligrams of caffeine in every piece, 100 milligrams alpha GPC. It's owned by me. It's made in America, and we're having our fall sale. It's automatic. There's no promo code. You just do it. Buy 2 of any one, get 1 free. So go to strikegum.com, check it out. Now, here's the real issue with all this. So you might recall that CBS News paid a huge lawsuit settlement to Trump personally. And within hours of that payment going through, suddenly Trump's FCC approved a merger between CBS and Paramount Skydance, another large media conglomerate. But they also did something else. One is that the newly formed company was chaired by David Ellison, the son of Trump ally Larry Ellison. Right? Larry Ellison's a huge Trump supporter, and more importantly, a huge supporter of Netanyahu's government in Israel. So, they also acquired, for an insane amount, Barry Weiss's Free Press. You might recall Barry Weiss is it's basically like a vlog network. It's a newsletter and some like podcasts and stuff. Most estimates put the revenue, and again, I know I'm a content creator. I live inside this space. I would say that Barry Weiss generously was probably worth about maybe $20 million, maybe as much as 50 if you're really being generous. So paying a three times what really the Free Press is actually worth is already a little sus, right? But then it gets even weirder because she it's recently come out that part of this deal appeared to be putting Barry Weiss as the editor-in-chief of CBS News. So imagine, right, going from being a New York Times op-ed writer, starting a newsletter, having that newsletter purchased for $150 million, and then suddenly sitting at the editorial helm of Paramount Skydance. But that's not even the craziest part. The funny part is Barry Weiss, obviously extremely pro-Israel and very pro-administration. But right, David Ellison is actually said that Barry Weiss is going to be reporting directly to him, and is going to be the editor-in-chief of CBS News. So I want you to understand that a Trump ally and a huge strident member of the pro-Israel lobby, as soon as this merger was approved, suddenly got brought in and then elevated to a position to censor all news coming through CBS. All CBS News is going to be run through her as a censor, or excuse me, editor-in-chief. And it's clear that there were no written terms in this approval that said this was going to happen. But the timing is perfect. It gets a major deal, gets approved by the SEC, and then immediately it acquires a pro-administration or an administration-aligned outlet, again, a supporter of Netanyahu's government in Israel, brings her in, elevates her to the very top, sitting above. Remember, David Ellison owns the conglomerate company. So there is a CEO of CBS News, and Barry Weiss doesn't report to that guy. Barry Weiss reports to the big boss, David Ellison, whose dad, Larry Ellison, is a U.S. citizen, but is the largest donor to, get this, the IDF. Yeah, the IDF accepts donations. By the way, I couldn't find a single record of American citizen Larry Ellison donating $1 to veterans or the U.S. military. So take that to mean what you will. But all this to say is that I look at this and I say, when these settlements happen, there is clear evidence that there is what's inked, and then there's what's agreed to. And officially, legally, no one probably has any record of this. And I spent 7 years as a government investigator. I've seen these kind of things all the time, where you see phone calls or you'll see a meeting booked with no agenda. And then after the meeting, everyone involved suddenly engages in some sort of coordinated activity. But they say, well, what was on the meeting agenda? They'll say, oh, we just reviewed the numbers. We just reviewed some slides. But you say, no, obviously there were things agreed to in this meeting that were not written down. And they go, no, we just all happened to engage in this very systematic coordinated dance at the same time. So again, the government often thinks you're stupid, but we're not. So the question is, not only is the platform kowtowing to the administration, but is it also going to say, listen, we're going to pull an Elon Musk. We're going to put our thumb on the scale to make sure that pro-administration voices get louder and that your critics get a little bit quieter. So, what does that mean for my platform? Probably nothing good. But as you guys know, I'm going to continue to be on here. I'm going to continue to report, speak truth to power, in part because you guys have my back, in part because, again, I've got stuff like Strike Gum that can sustain me even if YouTube, even if I get, free speech a little too hard, a little too close to the sun for YouTube's liking. And of course, you can always support me at combatvetnews.com or just hit the subscribe button. Thanks to our Colonel tier members, guys like Yanko Georgiev, Bastian Himmler, Michael Fry, Christine Schumann, Chris Holmes, Deborah Oppenheimer. And of course, if you want to support me on Combat Vet News, but don't want your name out here, I get it. Just send us an email and we can take it off and get you squared away. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Okay. That was a lot. I see you guys popping in, right?